boy, with a coward in a sling, seems standing there so all alone. Well, I guess he'll keep standing there until he's called for.
And welcome everyone to the Laughing Goat Coffee House. And our first readers tonight are Callan and Art.
This is community service. Whatever you didn't get here in the first place probably wasn't worth it. I spit it again and again, reprinted a brand, hoping that someday he'd be perfect. My written scripture's incomparable, whether it's glad it's terrible, depends almost unbearable. Let me clarify it for you, there's many reasons why I don't ignore you. I tried to warn you about this wicked curse, I bring myself within a written verse. I tried to teach you what you never learn, forever learn, only get 11 learn. My stomach turns with clever words, I challenge my believers. Blast my music through the speakers, analyze these soulful creatures with the biggest features. Only if you can tell me how to run my life, my alter ego with the bloody butcher knife, and the spirits of the long dead that only rise at night. I tried to fight, but only fright was struck from my opponent. The weed was burning too quick for me to smoke it. I couldn't get a good hit. Sit here I sit, broken hearted, having conversations with the recently departed. I ain't outsmarted, it kinda makes me feel retarded.
I never lack an option in the acts of conflict. To things that have in common with streets and Capadonna. Too late to escape, you've been already terminated. Ain't seen any perpetrations, this is Freddy versus Jason. Steady versus aiming, truth will be compassionist. Plus got more ruthless-ish than Keisha Anderson. Some of these dumb cats will never make it to Congress unless they got some sense like Haley Joe Osment. A radio office ain't a place to represent. You claim to represent, cops will take the evidence in a state forensic test for your danger recollect. Stay and get respect will qualify the most with copyrights foreclosed on the microphone. Drop a siphon shows, cats are easily amused. A pre-release ensues, keep your frequencies in tune.
Spinning me running around like a top, gonna defend with the cops. I know the shots what I got, and it's completely unexpected. The mission directed with my question is a message. I have a theory and I kinda wanna test it. I heard you got arrested, the system is infected. Children get molested with the help of Michael Jackson's fetish. So I'ma break loose, you too fake dude, time to fake choose. It's when my face makes the news that I make rules. Babies drowning in a swimming pool full of grape juice. Fingers pointing at the only ones who take Jews. But was it really worth it? You stabbed a knife through my heart and the blood squirted. This is community service, there ain't no way around it. Evade the cops, you probably get your fucking car impounded. That's it.
Let's have a nice warm welcome for Max.
Hi, I'm Max. Good to be here. This is actually, I wrote this because I was listening to this guy in Immortal Technique this morning.
Yes, rules.
And so it kind of sounds more like hip hop. It's kind of weird. I kind of avoid it because I'm still on that fine line defining poetry from hip hop. Industrial corruption is mandatory in America. As if to say success is measured in how many people you fucked over for every dollar, not by how many people you helped, like it should be. It could be karma alarming the population of a fake, an imposter that can toss you aside or make you famous. Tame as it seems, it's only quiet like forgotten American dreams. Freedom we see isn't only a word, it's force of habit, like the million things you don't know that you take for granted. And damn it if you don't get exactly what you demanded. You deserve to be stranded alone on a plane that has to be crash landed. Or better yet, I'll just ask Al-Qaeda to hijack it. If being nice were a 2-digit code, you couldn't crack it. It's an attack on every belief you believe is true, as if faith will never be enough to help you. Thank you.
Needles on a dead pine tree. They hang stiffened by salt, orange as the stalactites of bacteria encrusting the Titanic. Each bunch could be a spiny candelabra in a sea-soaked mansion, or the thin tentacles of a mutant octopus, more plentiful than the legs of any spider.
All right. So I kind of wanted to get into the perspective of a serial killer, and here's the results. It's called Pestered Westerner Out of Element in Chinese Brothel. Beginning segment of a serial killer. And this is not him actually killing, but before. He's going on a little world tour, taking a vacation. She cupped and cupped the breast, trying to get a hungerless nightly rest. It was demanding for the moment, scamming the delightful intrudes of her fingers and straight black hair. I wanted her ears to hear the angst American boredom music with a new sense of encouragement. She flustered me in that way, the perspective of a hooker with eyes granting her long draws of meaning in a world sponging dirt into every empty bedroom of a mat on floor, awaiting her hands pulling back the blanket used as a door. That was what it was, a horror flat in the middle of no possibilities. Too many possibilities drives a creature wild. Give me the hall pass to principal's office. I want to be taken for the world I live in, with a pimp and a whip, telling me to start groaning as bait for the mannequins in the hall, with lipstick smeared over their face as a sign of bloodful lust and herpes crusts.
There's like several Valentine's pieces that I'm not going to be able to get to tonight, but I want to read at least one more. Cupid's arrow struck me deftly. Choose your path, he demanded. 3 were offered, the punky one, the successful independent one. No quick study, I choose you, the frailest, the fairest. I suspect meddling, even though I stand in awe of your beauty. I suspect that you were placed on my path, a setup, carefully engineered by our common acquaintance. I dare to fall, to risk rejection. As it stands, I feel imposed. The daunting task you failed to perform becomes my labor of love. I feel the pain of romantic rejection when you suggest that I might be discharged from my only avenue of affection. To satisfy my desire to adore you, I hide behind the other reasons. Imposing again, I feel so forceful, so dominant, then feel terrible, Terry the Terrible, like Jack Collin called me the last time I encountered the sweet, aging local poet. Justifying is such a cinch. Explaining seems even more daunting than moving the tons of snow. Still, perseverance has gotten me this far. I said you were the fairest. I see the goddess in your eyes. The goddess implores me, compels me to explore your potential, to be a vehicle of my compassion. The mere concept of you as goddess manifestation contains its own potential to render our fates entwined. I firmly believe we can exercise the poltergeist through Tara, while thrilling, healing, loving each other in the secret tongue. Y'all do. Anybody want some more? Explaining won't help. I want to explain so many sweet verses. Maybe it helps to explain myself, to get it all down. Reasons won't seduce you. Actions speak louder than words. Maybe you'd really get it if you tried to do the work yourself. I hope you'll try. I hope you'll come to understand what it feels like to be me, compelled to serve. The most amazing lesson in love just came to me. It really is a lesson about the power of love. I chose to assume a laborer's duty for someone who captured my heart in an instant with an imploring gaze and a very sweet smile. It was blind faith that guided my heart. Found her worthy of my toil, my labor. At this point I have not won her heart, but the universe seems to be compensating big time. My ship with painted sails on the horizon is almost within view. My annual income just went up so fast it spins my head to even think about it. How much exponential? I don't want her to know. Not yet, anyway. The slightest effort on her part will be rewarded handsomely. Will not. Would. I know she'll come around. I barely have the patience. The way it's playing out is so beautiful, perfect, yet amazing. A microcosmic reflection of life itself. I see that bill getting torn up on Valentine's Day. I'm not too shy to do that. This is so about Valentine's. So about blind faith, faith in the power of love.
And I like to say, giddy up. We rekindle the ancient rite of communing for the purpose of attuning our constitutional awareness is blooming. Be not beguiled from thy true nature. Thy nominal nomenclature is but sounds or scratches on flax. The essence of presence lends to one silent fact. As a practice in grace, ye heed speak to say face. Have ye such angst to merely trace the life for which you were trained to taste? And within the same aim, sift, throw, skew to view, they all play the same game. Battered to main stage fame or shame, ye hast but to harness the reins. So rain dance, pants worn in holy trance, affirm that's where it's at. We got it down pat and there'll be none of that up to chance. We are guided to grow, our choices are known, we reap what be sown. We synthesize with the catalyst of a wellified home. Mindsets scape we form to shape our hearts with healthy glow. Are our intentions so great? Or set to escape responsibility? Yo? We speak in endless stress and ambiguous tense on what are we to do, though testing true to view as if we already knew, the rest is just follow through. So if thy vision be set to skew or thy condition be of malaise, attain to gain whispers from the cool, cool breeze. And the restless mainframe mind story game shall rest at ease. Didactics entwines thy string through the loom along. Ding dong, the charlatan's claims lame, aim, lame, bang, lame, volley surprised when their range is gone. And thy closed-eyed protester of killing and war, be thy willing investor of screaming what for? May thou hath crass actions in need of deplore. As if free-range compassion meet hides thy purchase of murder, flesh, and gore. It's a change we can all afford. Through a mange, gout, and sores, we can always learn more. No one's to blame, let's just readjust our aim. It's just what was passed on from before. This is what choices are for. The value of our voice is not to weigh more than the amount of our action from sea to shore. Open that door.
I would try to tell these white clouds of the claw that came for me today, of the mountain burning with human fire, and of your name that I have often forgotten. What would I say? For your eyes like sexual water and the marbled snow of your skin, and for your lips that swim through the wine-dark sea, for your hair of war and honey, and for the sky of your skin again and again, and for your breasts full of oblivion and death and pleasure. For the map that I do not know, and for the earth and the air that tremble as you pass, and for the perfect bridge of your legs and hands and lips, I have come dumbly, gently for a glimpse, to be touched by the wind behind your face, and to learn to say your secret name, softly, silently, my freedom.
That was Jay. We all wish you luck in your new ventures.
Thank you, Tom.
And next we have Paul Siegel, who is read here in this reading series. He read here quite every week in the 1980s, and a little bit in the 90s, and a little bit in this 21st century. Let's please have a nice warm welcome for the very gentle and kind Mr. Paul Siegel.
Yeah, I guess I'll read this one. This is a cell phone blues, how appropriate. Yeah. I call you and you call me, it's always voicemail or caller ID, and baby, yes, it's hard. I've been driving across different cities and I'm losing it and waiting to get your call. Don't know when I'll see you, if at all, or oh, I've got the cell phone blues. Oh yeah, baby's so hard. I'm sitting here by myself in the morning about to lose my mind, going to get my coffee and get it in the grind. More wild things to come and go through my wild mind. I really do care. There is no need to panic. I really love to have you for tea in my backyard hammock, and you know how hard it is when you gave up those and when I had to give up those cell phone blues, I'll remember you when the stars come out at night. Remember that when we watch them, we are looking at the same stars in the reflection of our eyes, no matter how far away I am.
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me here, and I really would never have any place to read. I would not have any community of poetry at all if it wasn't for your time. Once again, I tell you, 1,000 consecutive readings, 10,000, however many it is just a remarkable achievement, and I just, on behalf of the community, I thank you so much, really. I'll just read a few poems, too. Other people's karma. It's so easy to see other people's karma, to go on believing there's a separate self. Everything turns to junk in his hands because her life is one continuous emergency for the reason that every step of the way, can you say your legacy is a series of decisions against blind obedience? I step off the curbstone of indifference with the force of open mind. Nothing in this America can sell me with its $100 shine on a $3 pair of shoes. All of us are transparent to anyone that doesn't boil down the whole business to an arrangement. The emptiness of other people's karma is as infinite as that which penetrates beyond birth and death, to snatch away any understanding you may attain. Over in our nation's capital. I walk down Q Street, passing the yellow moth fluttering over white clover and the paintings of Martin Hardley making the rounds, a boy pouring ketchup over a pack of cigarettes, hidden cameras in the geranium boxes on Embassy roof, umbrella vendors, and the barber in clean white tunic and check pants listening to the coasters. The overdressed laundry worker who thinks he owns a railroad. She in a meadow of picnicking hairdressers surrounded by Japanese maples. An action figure of Morpheus in the trash. The flower sellers, Friday afternoons, and the pelt of raindrops on crushed velvet pants in the aniline dusk of escalators, raising everybody into the sunlight with the sudden feeling you've arrived at the Oscars. Weapons of mass compassion, after William Carlos Williams. Poetry is a weapon of mass compassion, but no international team of inspectors breaks down doors unannounced looking for it. No special forces hunted down. Nobody sets up checkpoints to smoke it out. Militaries overthrow regimes, but they never find the bunkers where weapons of mass compassion are stored. No country ever struck first with them. Drones do not fly overhead, filming their creation in ethereal mobile laboratory hearts. Surveillance cameras do not decode their verite. Congresses do not vote billions to rebuild countries with them. No Security Council holds special sessions over WMCs, yet people die every day for lack of them.
Strangers die every day too,
I wrote a series of poems in a recent book called Notes to a Young P-Borg after Rilke. And I just trying to address how poetry has changed so much in my own lifetime, because the language has changed and so many things have changed, as Tom was talking about, when you live to be a long time. My own grandmother had one of those crank phones, and I just think about how strange the world became for her. So this is for Notes to a Young Poet, Borg. What is the poem of the future? Soon, maybe already, it will be a driverless vehicle navigating the cosmos, keeping universes safe for what else? Poetry. Pobotics may still be in its infancy, but pioneers are already lining up. In its prototype stage, the Pobot 2, called the Originator, rolled over during an early practice run, destroying much of its vision system. Nevertheless, the vehicle was extensively rebuilt and completely took course during the second day of qualifications. Its victory navigating a paranoid and seriously neurosis. Pobotics experts said they expected only a handful of vehicles to qualify for the finals, and that they would be surprised if anybody actually won this first effort to create a pobotic vehicle capable of maneuvering through the material battlefield environment on its own. The race is intended to help autonomous print vehicle navigation technologies aimed at meeting a congressional mandate to extensively deploy pobotic systems by 2035. Many entrants have attempted to complete the course, which extends 12 million eons through the void. Some even have major corporate sponsors. Most couldn't land a publishing contract to save their lives. Watching it all from the bleachers, I think to myself, how grieved, not dead, and yet to die, and yet again to not, releasing gallows and altars. Isn't this also a kind of love?
I am also very, very honored to be here. It had kind of skipped my mind that tonight was the 1000th reading, and I heard about it like back in 2006. I was like, oh, I gotta be there that night. And literally skipped my mind, and just out of sheer good luck and chance, I found myself here tonight. So I'm very proud and honored to be able to be reading here. If it wasn't for you, Tom, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be a poet. I'd still be me in a different sense of me. We'll read a couple here. Separation anxiety. This is one from the interview series. Benny Hale is a poet who just got out of the mental ward. He pleaded insanity to 2 counts of public drunkenness, assault with a pen, and battery. He threatened 2 police officers with a ballot just before they sprayed him with mace. Recently, he was asked what he was doing with himself now that he was out. This was his response. This used to be fun, this sitting here with beer belly up to the bar used to be fun. I would sit on a stool belly to the bar and pretend to change lives, which is to say that I tried to scar the paper in order to scar others. I would lean with a pen perched precariously over paper, trying to scar it. This would be fun, and I would laugh, not out loud. Other inmates once saw a man laugh at himself and contemplated castrating his craziness by force if necessary. So I do not laugh at myself by myself, and certainly not writing with myself, not out loud, because this used to be fun after all, and there was no reason to interrupt my amusement with what I knew would ensue. So I drank while trying to scar interpretations of my mind on paper. Some may say that this is too early to drink, but I have been to France to see grandfathers sitting sipping back a nice pint at the wee old hour of 9 a.m., and they did not seem to separate morning and alcohol. Rarely did they separate drinking and alcohol. It was common practice, but it is certainly not that early here. I am drinking a beer, remembering that this used to be fun, having some fun with it, and it is never too early for laughter. So I sit belly up to beer, peering over this paper, contemplating its death, scarring it with my half-lies, limiting its potential, because after all, anything could be put here. But I have placed this here, 2 here, so I am sitting here, killing this paper with slow scars, stealing its possibility with half-lies, which are also half-truths depending on your basic outlook. Perception really does govern so much, sitting scarring with half-truths, for I could never tell you the lie. You would not believe it, but herein lies the problem, that the true lie would be just as much truth. Knowing what is not is very valuable. It's part of the solution. Like I said, I would just sit here or there at some counter on some stool, and this used to be fun. But I don't want to hear the true truth of me either, or what makes something so valuable, immortal, and scarred. So I tell half lies to the paper, which is really an extension of you. Who are you? Who are you? Who are sitting hearing these things? These things should never stay static anyway. These half-truths need someone else, you or her or him, to wrap their lips around these sounds. And this used to be fun. This used to be fun until I took all this fun and found that I may need a profession. And this was just before I had married my wife. Janet is her name, and we were married a little while ago. But I decided that since I was going to be a father, head of household, Superman kind of guy, at some point I might want to have a profession to bring in what little something lucrative to the table. So I decided to do this as a profession. I was told once by more than a few people, some of them respected comrades, that to do something you love and that is fun for the rest of your life is one of the luckiest gifts a man can give himself. This is why I married my wife. But I decided to follow it up with a profession as well. So I chose this profession because this used to be fun, damn it, sitting here around scarring these papers. But I used to do this differently, only for fun. I used to put breaks between these thoughts, separating these lines, which used to be fun. This separation, saying I would do this for a living, a profession was separation. And I had no clue that maybe or maybe it's not so separate, and somewhere along this line I stopped having fun, making breaks, chopping scars, and sitting belly up. I stopped laughing, only drinking sometimes, reading always, thinking this drove me insane for a while, which is definitely not fun. If you run into someone who says otherwise, they don't know what the hell they're talking about, meaning they have never gone insane, which is something everyone should do a few times in life. Someone once told me that I should beware of those who refuse to go insane even a little bit. It is bad form after all. Insanity is as about as insane as it gets anyway. So the separation I had made from separating lines and work and fun had come at a bit of a distraction. Really, a consciousness, separating being a problem, separating. But I think that I have learned my lesson, that there really does not need to be this separation, and that is what makes a man truly lucky, which is to say that this is what makes the man lucky, not the simply doing the same activity for the rest of your life, even if it used to be fun, but it is very important to realize it is fun. I have worked many other jobs, so many other jobs, so I know that an interest in profession is extremely important, or boredom will set in, which is really just the slow stare of death, deer in the headlights, or something of that nature. These things, these professions, these hobbies, breaking separation can always get worse. I was told by a teacher of mine that his mother used to tell him that not to complain, at least he wasn't drowning, meaning he wasn't in El Salvador, meaning that he wasn't fending for his life on a minute-to-minute schedule. I have a family living like this. I have a family living like this, and now I know I was only a chance encounter away from that life as well, and we should all be very grateful for that alone. But really, it's all fun. The only people telling us that everything we do is not fun is ourselves, us separating two parts of the whole with labels of good or bad or right or wrong, or I don't even get me started on heaven and hell. What was it I heard? Happiness is more than a decision. It is a choice that one makes every minute of every day, which makes it an art form, kind of like sitting here, scarring this, laughing at myself, playing with myself on this paper. It sure is good to be out. What? Yeah. Okay. Abash these randy filaments of naked whores walking down the overcrowded streets. Shoulder to shoulder, hustle, bustle. No one's moving quite fast enough with calabash fiddlesticks stuck up the collective ass. There's lollygag Google eyes of super stimulated tourists trapped by these cool, conforming capitalists who have given in to give up, to hoard these beautiful cosmetic whores. Silicone and plastic adulterated elongations in the street. I saw the American Captain Cowboys strumming anthems in underpants and high-heeled boots. I thought, this must be our muscle-bound enraged testosterone bellowing at the heavens for cheers and jeers. And you're gonna bash those false filaments and conduct conducive to the high-walled, high-balled, 3-martini lunchers, loudly proclaiming patriarchal hierarchies with power ties and blue blazers, suited up 3 pieces of this upscale image consciousness. A fashion guru is a god in these white-walled marble halls of high-rise, overpriced life, penthouse pig-outs, oink, oink, oink for trouses of green sop and dead presidents pictured in all the old glory. These must be our dollhouses and content puppets. And you're gonna bash this downtown Doomstown, this sleazy city sleeping in gutters by cigarette butts and used needles. Tenements teem with peeling lead paint, the people just too poor to complain and move someplace else. Over there you can see a pimped out pusher man sliding around in his yellow-bellied ambitions, cause fear, well, that's a common companion in these streets, where alley's filth lies strewn like a front yard for cardboard homes living off the uptown excess, plastic packaged to-go, drive-through, throw-out eatery where mass-produced soylent, not quite green substance is crammed down the overblown esophagus of bulimic indulgence. Minority just became majority, and nighttime is no longer safe or quiet. Anger rolls just below the surface, ready to boil over at any moment, create fire with the first spark. This must be our despair and fury. You can abash the exploited, underpaid slave wave, overworked, exhausted, force-fed visions unattainable of this large plantation paradise with servants all their own. They're malt liquored and mentholed into a street corner subculture where an abused and abandoned childhood cycles through addiction from one generation to the next. Undereducated escapees who cannot escape the coop, packing at life like chickens, scraping away the dirt to find the crumbs strewn across the yard. These must be our undernourished and debased arms and legs. Finally, abash the boiling blood flowing through these streets. I stood up and marched out, my feet stomping, shaking the foundations of those high, white-walled marble halls. See, misunderstandings? Well, they're quite often misunderstood and turned to anger's roar, raging wild, unbridled, and unbidden. This Pope parade voicing volumes of injustice is pitted against plastic shields of established reality, while billy clubs of ignorance bash bleeding bodies, thus squelching yet another frowning funeral march. This must have been our bleeding heart.
Ola Tunji, whenever he says that to me, that he wouldn't be a poet without me, I always say, well, I hope it doesn't make your life worse, you know? Because I feel like he's saying, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be poor and have a whole life of disappointment to look forward to, you know? And I mean, I think like, be careful not to influence anybody to dedicate their life to poetry, you know, because they'll probably kick your grave someday. You know?
You still know my grave.
Pardon me.
I guess I just wanted to say that my grandpa died in this sweater, which I thought was kind of nice because it's a good sweater. Not so much that he's dead, but it was 1991 and I was like kind of incoherent, you know, as that goes. This is called The Cauldron is Red Hot. Label maker plus, label maker plus, 5-minute stretches excite morbid profundity over lackluster proclivities that politicking will prevail on secret society luncheons. Stuffed shirt, brick blockade, exploding exploitation in the high school halls, in the janitor closets, in the rat traps, in the city, on the hill, and the anorexics declare that they want no second helpings. Systems as knickknacks, larger words with syntactic conclusions, major it. There is a fade in the vibrations, phantasm rhythms on shortwave radios. My apologies never sliced through pluralistic policies. In hand-to-hand combat, we swipe credit cards. In the charge, we found that electric currents were backwards. And so many toy makers cringe in romantically carved wooden tiers and swing back and forth in jack-in-box surprise. This morning, the sun was lazy in coming about. These are cold, blistered days. And frostbite doesn't have enough acclaim in removing extremities. The floorboards are weak when jumping on old mattresses, and when the core heats down, burying will result in post-afterlife tranquility coupled with pre-birth curiosity. Idea is a kind of stop-motion animation, The man came in with a 10 in his hat. Am a crime robber on scene in the rush of slack-jawed celluloid capture. Hearing percussive beats on a jet engine turbine. Sledge-hammered cuts for wounded misadventure. Catching Candy live. Again, outside of the storehouse, dirty napkins pinned between their trousers. Street sweepers pass, but never bullseye. 16 days later, it would be one carrying beer cans through frozen cul-de-sacs in urban withdrawal. 245 worth 250. Catch hit Candy with a spotty wound. The second was a stalwart blank expression. Here lies the transformation for a transcription of bloodbath terror metered in a Howard Hawks comedic gesture. My radio's out. What about you?
From Indiana. Yay. Our next performer is Mr. Reed By, whose phone number is one of the first number I called my first day in Colorado, because they had said to give them a call when I got here, and I don't think I'll ever forget that. But without invading his privacy too much, Reed has led a totally blessed life, and once I think his interest in poetry might have saved his life, because he was drafted into the Army, or was getting ready to get on a bus to go to training, where I think they would probably sent him to the Vietnam War, which nobody would have ever known what would happen there. But just before he got on the bus, this guy said, have you talked to this gentleman on over here, because they'd like to talk to you before you go off. And so he went and told the guy about his interest in poetry, and the guy said, well, here, I don't think that you're the right person for this job. And they said, you can go back home, you know? And so after Reed told him about his interest in poetry, they let him go home. And I'm sure that didn't help to happen to very many people who were being drafted into the Vietnam War. So he's a great guy and a great poet, and watch for him in this movie, It Doesn't Pay to Be an Honest Citizen. Is that the name of it? It Don't Pay to Be an Honest Citizen, with William Burroughs and Allen Ginsberg. If you ever see that film, Reed's one of the 3 stars. So let's have a thunderous welcome for Mr. Reed By.
Well, hello, thank you, Tom. And congratulations on your millennium. How's it feel to be 1,000?
Feels great.
You know, I was just thinking what the shudder. I remember the shudder that went through Boulder when the Penny Lane was going to close, and the prospect of the Sawyer a Poet series disappearing. It was almost too much to handle, and here we are. You know, just back home. You know, it's all established again, and it seems so fitting, and almost like a source of reminder of some kind of faith one could have, that things do go on and they're a good thing. So thanks. I would like to read a few things that are still trying to find their way. So we'll see. I think it's great to be up with these powerful voices tonight. Wow. I hope some of that energy is still hovering here. Take it on. Yeah, it's like an institute here, Tom Peters Institute of Poetry and Performance, and people sign up for years and train and become masters. And lottery. If I can't be the one drifting in currents of lust, can I at least sing the song I found in the dust, when thoughts and amusements fell flat before re-arising as questions? Can I wake up again without replacing the grating we might ask of the dust? It is a gamble whose winning percentage is low, but whose ticket found in a donated overcoat's pocket, pocket's redemption is good as long as some sorrow lasts. How does everybody think? Our names are like three-dimensional cards passed back and forth, and our forms are like great bubbly creatures doing different kinds of tumbling routines, skidding in for landings on the knees, grazing lop-eared at tufts, spinning lariats while oozing ketchup, and in the background rows of shelves, racks of girls' and boys' tennis shoes, pink fleece hats with ice cubes dangling, glimmers of divinity, dropping from clouds onto the ceiling, and in particular this morning, the elegantly chiseled coffee. There isn't much warmth at the bottom, however, and before long, a deluge of cold damp sponges in. Be life as you rise from its great sense of failure. Opening on a queue of sequined peaks, spread silently, thinly, in colors like bursts of trumpet or lights of bottles chilling in a stream. Meanwhile, walls and sockets produce a World Trade Center, ominously shadowing tables of crystal figurines. What would you say is the wildest animal left in the world if every rental movie ever made were pendant from it? Which is the wildest, cougar or boar? Running out of a tumbling poppy, a little man in yellow takes a flying leap over the river, but still his form holds water. It is of water, fed and filtered, and as he falls, water draws out his poetry, taut and drying to return to vacancy. And temperature, though still supporting life, asks, well, how much air will be absolutely needed to sustain it? Not a penny more. The body permeable drags external vitals wet and weary along balsams, snow and grass. A diaper frozen in sunlight on the sidewalk quiets the question, is desire sleeping? Splayed on a flesh horn, shaved of its will, propped up on pillows and perforated to allow light and air their prescient mutuality. You can't control who knows it, but only see who sows it when harvest secrets change and learn to say yes to the new couple moving in, light and air. Kind of a continuation thing. I'm not sure whether it should be separated or stay a continuation. Faceted lens. How does anyone know where life is presently going? By following and sensing and sniffing the air and following along according to nose. Keep wandering with nose open for the arrow of the sun aimed at the father, the arrogance of the student aimed at the teacher. For when those arrows meet, harrowing knowledge gives you what's needed to go where artichoke leaves snag hair. My poetry teacher tried to keep poetic mind fresh from settling back on its heels after handling thought in hand-to-hand combat. She tried to nudge it forward onto its toes, gathering soil to grow in the changing light, new strains of emphasis. She's all fire, and being taught, I can rouse flame from the root of my tongue and show the earth bounty in an abandoned storefront. Genital fire also grows from this root and comes alive to conquer wherever there is temperature, wind, forms of being, sufficient water, no earth without leaves, no cold sunny streets without a red-tailed hawk over the traffic light, and no shadowed formations in the foothills without beer cans thrown before a chapel. No interest in backtracking. What is weaving, if not a way of going into the rocks with memory dogs at your side? In front, a rouser from sloth, the teacher whose tongue of fire did its dance in my destined eye. A rock cart of martins, a simple art. The esophagus and the windpipe. Once considered a coarse weed, mosh is now a chic salad green. Air comes out of a wind cave. Oh, it fills and goes back in through accordion reeds. And birds fly over the lake and come back to boxes on poles. And the sun goes up and around and down. But the elements of the clock don't seem to care whether in teeth or the salad they bear. Who can watch the dark? Born there, like a glove knows the entry of unusual hands. Filling with heated water, the earth and wind's melancholy cannot separate itself, so that I am what's left after thinking and talking about. Please, bring back the lungs, express darkness to the bowels, legs and hands on the floor, thighs and uplift, All fantasy wisps aside, what is left? Things, he said, out of fiery holes through which earth can dance in flames on layers of sky. Let's see. Maybe I'll read just two more. This is called The Horse in Snow, and it was written for Steve Katz and Victor Hernandez Cruz. We went down to see the great Cuban pianist Gonzalo Rubalcaba in Denver, and this was written the next day. The Horse in Snow. First feel, then rein in and ride the horse. Why the long face? Heartbeat rhythming as ecliptic dim descends and landscape gets constrained, pushing on through snowbound streets and cars. Past many lights and colored signs begin to tell the night we like you. An amber mood sets in, the stenciled proof of sun dissolve into the final frame remaining of the world's daily eye. Raccoons entering a storm drain. Generations spread upon the prairie, leaving town from which frozen limbs protrude. When full emerge, will they appear in a new patch of housing? That discontinued windshield is a great jewel shattered on the highway. Cars continue on and push aside the snow to chug up from the trough of Boulder Valley on the highway over mangled roots transfixed in earth, alone and puzzled at the interchange of womb and active limb. We come to know another way in time, a practiced beat, a constant chain of feeling, pulled along this packed and frozen trail, a ways to go in nameless caravan, so many ways to go, and all go on. We're probing for a nibble to the thing. It must be here somewhere to feed us through the silver, keep these ghastly limbs alive and rocking in the feeling of the rhythm of the horse that brings us breathless to the club in downtown Denver, Vartons, where someone I know, Mark, is at the bar, and people I have never met before at small tables sit round with conversations where conversations have begun. I sit down and wonder where's my place and when the music we are waiting for will come. Couples settle in now, talking, sipping, and forgetting why we're here until the Russian owner, Vartan, wryly smiling, takes the stage to introduce with pride the Cuban jazz pianist Gonzalo Rubalcaba and his combo, beneath whose rampant hands the rhythm that seemed frozen, lost in earth, comes up to life, runs in through clothes and skin, and even when the polyphonic runs dissolve on right or right-hand line dries up and decifonado dissolves into the air, the beat still runs beneath. The second set of space, a silence at the little table where three men sit. The room is bigger and the horse unleashed is running under Rubalcaba's hands, turning as it pleases on a wide valley plain in reddish light, and we ride on it too, past little fires that start and pools of fire that spread and blaze into exchanges that are quiet, so, or frenzied almost anywhere, you never know, because somewhere underneath, even in the morning the next day, the horse is running still, even with the things left on the stove, things unaddressed or left half-dressed at home. They hold the beat, continue it along the broken trail of living made as every other hoof hits on the earth. Even if the time it takes, an altered pace, as plain as sweat, the grooves run deeper than the grain, the gait, a walk, a trot, a flexing back in rage, is measured in the time it makes, which passes like a silk scarf on the wind, because earth is riding too, its horse of season, horse of water, air, and fire, through Rubalcaba's fingers down the keys and through the room and out in amber light upon the snowbound streets of Denver. Thank you. I'll close with the short poem called Penny Lane for Tom Peters, written years ago at one of these little tables at the end of the street block. Penny Lane. A winter's night was sounded in, it sounded down through mouth, and thence the words by tongue tip to these catcher mitts did fly, like what's the word? Was poetry? Was tooth? Or stone hell known through rift of bone and ear? A heaven song of bird and bee, not left the earth to mourn or sting, nor reft of pain, stood up to sing, and open mouth did feel the cave. Now as you sit, where tongue tip spins around the roof and then goes deep through throat to lung, and deeper down the hips and out to street in cold December, with or not the rumbling steam thing, sing. Thank you.
once more for Read By. Thanks for reminding me about these tables and chairs being over there. Almost every single one of these tables and chairs lived at Penny Lane over there at 18th and Pearl for a long time, and before that they lived at the Penny Lane across the street before that. This one of the Penny Lanes over there used to be at 1738 Pearl, you know, and on the next block over at excuse me, maybe it was on the next block over on Walnut, John Fonte spent the first few months of his life at 1738 Walnut, you know, like 100 feet away from the first Penny Lane over there, you know. And he's one of my favorite writers, and he was born over there in 1909. And I think I partially moved to Boulder because of my love for his work. And if you guys haven't read him, his becoming more and more well-known every day. And if you haven't read Ask the Dust or Dreams of Bunker Hill or Road to Los Angeles or Wait Until Spring Banditti, you have a lot to look forward to. And so thanks to Reed, and thanks for that man, whoever he was back there in the past that might have saved you from a different fate, you know. Marcus Palmer, who's currently, in addition to being a writer and a father and a husband and many other things, is preventing people from the terrible fate of being poisoned by radon. That's what he does for a living. So let's have a nice warm welcome for Mr. Marcus Palmer.
I live up in Netherland, which Tom failed to mention, although he usually does. And the reason I note that tonight is because this year, for the first time in the 18 years that I've been living here, Netherland is now 1 mile further away from Boulder than it used to be. It used to be 17 miles to get to Netherland, and this year it's 18 miles. So, thank God. You can expand, but we're still moving farther away. This is a 2-page, 1-act play from 1989, which I wrote at this very reading. It's called The Soft Belly Deception. I've got it inside me. Most people accumulate it outside, behind eye color, fabric type, hairstyles, plastic cards. I am not a symbol, I am an automation. Trim waist, long legs, I don't have it, but I believe it. It's my routine. The air is so thick nowadays, I can't tell if it's a known superficiality, even if I look up the dress or in the wisdom of cigarettes. Nobody's got clear eyes anymore, can't see a damn thing without the light, and I can't see anything else. We did this to ourselves with blank stares. Nobody wanted to live this long. We fought against it, and now nobody dies. Not even in the 15-minute fame game. I choked death 1,000 times. I tried in alleys, off bridges, hope on the highway for defeat, but no. Everybody picks up hitchhikers if the light is in their face. Damn, I was somebody's son, a good and respecting child, didn't play in the streets or steal cookies and later money. It was innocent, it was virile and alive until that ideal fell out of power. I helped suffocate it, no longer a knave, but a product. Became a smokestack with no backbone. I spewed it out on the common ground and played according to light. And it came back like unconscious monsters. Philip Morris, never leave you alone until you crave the light every minute, every day, and you're fucking hired. Then you never die, never grow, never speak again because your bags are packed and the you that was is gone. The container that's left is clogged with satiating hype, worked out to a maximum of effect and a minimum of responsibility, and the meat they feed the dogs is ripped from inside you. There is no sympathy for mediocrity. You are made what they want, and you pay for the Promethean fire that lights the billions' darkness. You pay because it's burning inside you, reflected on the outside of the world in every gesture, every etiquette. But it keeps the wraiths at bay. and most of the time you don't have to think about the deception. In the shadows, one stands up as a stillborn lie, either the man or the child. In the light, I choose to believe in the child because the child grew from the shadows, knew fear, curiosity, maybe deviation. Because in the light of the world, the man sees nothing, means less, cannot possess the child in anything other than fiction. Because the child believed in nothing, and I cannot. I've got it inside me, nourished it even, an end to futility. It was freedom, the chance to escape the dark. But I, the blind zealot, the bright video beacon shone down, and I saw nothing but was my own. I have a goddamn dream I never shed a tear for. I walked sovereign in the land of giants and sneered at the shadow-trapped miscreants. Avert my glance from those few who have made peace with their monsters. I have become my own monster in the face of yet another and most current ideal, shining from me in all the glaring falsehood that no hierarchy admits. I've got you inside me eating every night, and I curse the soft-bellied deception because I thought the light would save me. Really, it just makes you sweat. The light is no womb but to shame, and despite the perpetual mask and the faith of societies, the light will flicker for an abysmal moment, and I want to die. But the people must have an idol, more important, an ideal. Even the betrayed must have belief. So I can't die. Nobody can anymore. Thank
you. Next we have Dylan, who's filming these readings for his great website, and he's also going to read poetry here tonight. Let's have a thunderous welcome from the great state of Michigan, Mr. Dylan. And the reason I'm refraining from saying your last name right now is because it occurred to me that I don't know if I know how to pronounce it correctly. Hawk. Hi.
I just have two quick, short poems, if I can find them. I don't typically, I can't see you. Hey, Reed. I didn't realize you were here until Tom said hi to you earlier. Good to see you. I don't typically title my poems, so this is the first one. Do yourself a favor and let bygones be. All the temptation around you need. Never more than a whim's peroxide. However much it may hurt, obfuscate the preternatural urges called upon by your impulsive slavery. Kites will never do without the wind. Don't wind up your string year after year, only to lose the tail kerchief blazed along the sun's horizons. No one ever sees as far as that. Instead, hobble up the road, overly sure of yourself without cause or justification. Nights are dark, but poetry is love, and doing it thus holds enough answers for the time being. Thank you. And this is the other one. Damn you, Handel. I can't concentrate with the angels falling, voices aloft, descending, turning minor as they pass the body to the fire below. There's the Seeger connection. You're a god in Kathmandu, but you left a broken mask, pushing for gigs at a roll arena. We all want the knife without drinking dirty water. Melissa got a baby, and Kyle got kids' clothing, and they say the good die young with a lonely sort of sigh.
Thank you. Can you start there for a second? Let's hear it once again for Dylan. How can you tell them how to get your website?
Oh yeah, I run a literary journal or arts journal online. It's called Watching the Wheels of Blackbird, and you can Google search Watching the Wheels of Blackbird, or we also have a MySpace page that helps advertise it, where I post these films that I recorded here and some others I do around town, and that's at myspace.com/ the initials for the magazine, WTWAB. So.
And I wanted you guys to take a profile here. like, why don't you guys take a look at Dylan? Because when I was like 6 or 7 years old, the definitive moment of my childhood was I was sitting on the floor in my parents' house, and the Smothers Brothers show came on, and Buffalo Springfield came out to play, you know? And Neil Young had this exact same haircut and these exact same sideburns, where, you know, they went down into just the beard was shaven off, and it was like 1966 or 1967. The miracle of television now is you can know the exact date of that show because they have it on DVD and everything. But he was wearing a fringe jacket, and they were singing some of their songs, and I was a little kid sitting on the floor on the carpeting, you know, and I was just looking at Neil Young and thinking, oh my God, this is the most beautiful, weird person I've ever seen in my life, you know, and like from that moment on, I knew I wanted to be a weirdo, you know? I knew that for before then, at that moment I was like confirmed, and I was like, geez, I can't wait till I get older so I can look weird and wear weird clothes too, you know?
The older you get, the weirder you can get.
Yeah, so Dylan's like, this is the look that was the most popular look in like 1966. This was considered long hair in 1966.
Yeah, I think, well, I don't know. But anyway, I forgot what I was going to say about my friends always, I have a 3-year-old son, my friends always tell me that he's going to think he grew up in the 70s. All these pictures of his parents with long hair and bandanas.
This kid and his wife are both beautiful too.
So next we have Michael Jones, who I think was born the day before my first birthday in Chicago, in a great hospital there, and he's a great poet, and he's lived in LA, and he's just an all-around good guy that's had a hard life like many of us have, and I just love him to death, and I'm happy that he could join us here tonight. So let's please have a thunderous welcome for Mr. Michael Jones.
Excuse me, are any children in here? Like, I find that sometimes I just have to like let it out like it feels inside. Maybe one day I'll be able to be as calm as I thought I was at one point. Why must I be like that? Why must I chase the cat? Pussy ass motherfuckers hiding behind skins, and money nothing but the dog in me. An Americanized, reluctant pit bull mentality, once African, some Cherokee, some Irish, black now. Marginalized cellar dwellers of capital's surplus humanity, underground, Wall Street, human auction blocks, unknown. Too bad they don't teach the truth to their kids. This is a little love poem I wrote to George. What's that W stand for? No, I'm serious. Anybody? George? Walker, right. George Walker Bush. Kind dear Mr. President, I love you as I must from lessons in Saturday morning catechism classes long before they left the stain of distaste on my tongue. Sunday morning wafers try to discern truth from tragic tradition, trading across middle passages and souls across dimensions, real and phantasmic optimism spoken as if true are deficits and job losses. Up 33% to 2.2 million, 521 billion deficiency in the national ledger, once surplus to 81, and now debts 7 trillion from 5.7 trillion, up 23%. I love you, Mr. President, my upward immobile, stagnantly spiral circle. A defensively offensive self, promoting falsehoods, ghetto lies I know so well, having had need to lie about addictive needs to ignore what is so real. It never was the beauty of the thing, but the fact of it being seen, then penned. Before thought, wiring doubled the pump and allowed space cushion time to fire its conventional guns. It jumps, and the yellow heads of snapdragons hold while fly with their green trains the stems, nights, and crickets trill. All may be systematized in a fine economy of glimpse, but before this, with its strings And before things arise, one admits the palpable hits. That's from Passing Creeks and Graces by Reed Budd. That last line made me think of that Bob Marley song, One Thing About Good Music. When it's good, it does what? It hits. There was a wounding, a pain so deep that carried for generations disappears into the back of the foreground of Bob, almost like Rosa on that Alabama bus. This morning, Eric came in my pre-dawn dreams, bearing healing through wailing and pictures, drawings born of his wife and Gaia's communion. On golden yellow pages with pictures in white print stacked upon one another, 5, maybe 6 reams high were words describing phenomena like that of the fate of light-starved trees. A dream revealed ancient as never before light, infiltrating darkness, universal and particular pain of being unseen, unnoticed, avoided, invisible, and disvisible like Ellison. Saw light in the dying of a tree still standing with withered roots winding beneath the surface of Mama Earth's crust. Wailing, inevitable, deep and short time of a moment came together Mama's pain and mine, and I awoke resolute, knowing birth's pain, glory, gender challenged, man I remain. Thank you. This is called Kelly Ray. I think it was after my first time here. Tom, is there someone else reading after me?
Yeah, just one more person.
Okay, I'll read this last poem if I may. It was my first trip here to Boulder. I rode a Greyhound bus from Santa Cruz, California. And on the way back, I stopped in Sheridan, Wyoming. And I had never been to Sheridan. I had never been to Colorado. I had never driven through Utah. I had never seen these places where there was nobody there. Well, there were a few that looked like me. And like I was walking down the street in Sheridan, and it was like a parade. I swear to you, I'm not playing. It was like it was a reverse parade. I'd be walking down the street and people in cars, mostly young people, would be like, hey, I don't have to get you through the CD or MTV, I can see you in real life. I don't have to believe like the Germans did that black men had tails. This is real talk. World War II, then women was expected, oh my God, you don't have tails. They really thought that was the propaganda. They really thought that men that looked like me or Olatunji or maybe Reed's father's black. Did you guys know that? No, I'm just playing. But they thought black people, you know, this is crazy. I love everyone. Anyway, it was like, well, I'm just gonna read the poem. It's called Kelly Ray. I met this guy at the desk at the Days Inn. Kelly Ray. Kelly Ray, he should have been living in West Hollywood. And the only reason I say it like that is because I could if I wanted to. Kelly Ray was cool. He was like, but he was living in Sheridan. And I was like, what the? I started thinking about Matthew Shepard. I talked to Kelly. Kelly said Matthew Shepard was my ex-roommate's boyfriend. Now what am I supposed to do? Stand there at the counter the Days Inn and cry? Because Kelly is smiling and being happy about being alive. In Wyoming, home of Dick. Richard Cheney. God, I feel so superior to other people. I need to stop that. I need to get my practice on again. But until then, this is called Kelly Ray. Kelly Ray works at the Days Inn in Sheridan in the same state as Laramie, where fear killed Matthew Shepard. His ex once was Matthew's roommate, he says, and lives in Sheridan, Wyoming. The out uncle of adored, beautiful, biracial new breeds, slandered as half. Kelly lives in Sheridan, Wyoming, the state where Matthew Shepard died for the crime of loving other men, where signs said, no tears for queers at Matthew's funeral. Kelly asks if I got the looks I did while walking through Sheridan. crossing Little Goose Creek to Main Street and back to the day's end. And I can only imagine what it would be like to be him in Sheridan, a man who loves men, amongst others. Thank you very much.
It's called Sharks. So there you were. Here you are. You are there and back again, East Coast, to escape the West. But Western sharks just navigate around the Cape and up to you again. And you can smack them on the snout again. You can poke their eyes just like you did before. But there are no sharks in Colorado. There are a few in Texas, off the coast, and off the record, they're the ones who didn't make it to the ocean, didn't make it when the others caught a hitch on a Navy submarine bound for Pennsylvania, bound for trouble, full of malice, full of anger, that you haven't been dissuaded from kicking steps into this mountain, the one that we all must climb. There are no sharks on mountains. But you've stayed from Colorado to the place where you say sense is most made, by a lake of inland water, and the only salt for miles is from the tears that you cry, and you drown sharks in your tears. You drown sharks in your tears. You drown sharks. You know, some of the poems come so super quick that it really is frustrating when you have to craft for years and years and years, and that's this one, and I'm pretty sure it's not even finished. It's about the delicate balance between the ephemeral and the things that we can touch, and where that all falls in our life and how much value we give to each one. This is called Approaching. Lumbering towards the Jerusalem of your bright and beautiful sky, of your bright and beautiful sky. What is the full consistency of the mud and stars for which I must be made? Am I cynical, optimist, amphibiously designed, hypochondriac, accident? Am I found to be soul for soul, pound for pound, flesh for flesh, lost in the beginning or in the end, found the best and worst of this heaving ground? Ultimately, will I be leaving it all or believing at all? Either way you go, it takes a certain sort of strength to be a stain inside this world that we live, and that silent slipping that you hear in bed at night can be nothing more than the plate tectonics of that empty soul of yours, or it could be craftsman cogs in the gears of the perfect parts of the whole, slipping in symphony, a time and grace, or slipping lost in a time and space of slipping sublime, or slipping completely, slipping completely away. In the end, either the center holds to a higher heart or holiness, or it blows apart, the symphony of entropy, and the picking up and the stomping down, the picking up and the stomping down, the path picked by providence, or the wandering aimlessly, while never ceasing, the wandering aimlessly, always lumbering toward your bright and beautiful sky. About Langston Hughes, because I was born among the whites of my eyes in central Texas, where your unwritten, generally spittin' rule was hold the hands of the white girls and tie those of the black. And even then, I couldn't hold back the whipping thought that skin doesn't slide down crystal stairs, and the broken hearts, They grab for banisters, and I grab for banisters, and clear vision, and a glimpse of supernatural love, thy neighbor, the edge of the razor tipping towards your lily-white business suit, your lily-white hands, your lily-white hood and water fountains, and I would see utopia found among you, you myopic Neanderthal, walking the one-stoplight streets of this dry, dust bowl southern town where I grew up, and you lied to me from the beginning. The prairies have more water than you. The rattlesnakes hissing in the underbrush, demonstrate more couth. And the truth is that life ain't been no crystal stair, not for me, not for you, not for a million little black girls all wrapped up into one little black girl in a yellow dress with a strawberry chocolate stain, smiling from a dark Dr. Pepper Cafe doorway. And you cut your own legs from under you, man. From under you, and under you is nothing, nothing but the stark truth that you kill not only with the whites of your knuckles, but with the words of your tongue, words that taste of tin, and rusted out Chevys, and broken down pasteboard doors. And I've never known much about Langston Hughes, but I choose to believe that he would walk up behind you, kiss the nape of your neck, and hold you tight, so tight that you couldn't break free from the hate that is love and the love that is hate, and it would remake you, and you would weep. You would weep. Your tears would roll like glaciers at light speed, carrying with them the dust from your face, dropping onto your pearl gripper, short-sleeved, white plaid shirt. And it would remake you in the image of the true God and everything that is decent and lovely. And at that moment, you would know more about Langston Hughes than I ever will. Because where that type of grace and this type of epiphany meet, there opens a mighty door. Thanks.
So thank you all for coming, and thank you all for staying, and thanks to everyone that read and everyone that listened. And for those of you that don't know much about Langston Hughes, there's one of the greatest documentaries I've ever seen is the Voices and Visions documentary about Langston Hughes, which you can rent for free at the library. And they made about 10 documentaries about 10 different poets, all an hour long, and the one about him is so amazing and informative. The first time I saw it in 1988, I was bussing tables at this Italian restaurant down the street and writing poetry. And at one point when Langston Hughes was having poems on the front page of the paper in Paris, France, and a million people knew who he was. And his mom was constantly saying to him, why don't you be a nice boy and get a job and do something like that you're going to have a chance to make it at, like being a busboy or something. You know, and he was talking about how his mom kept asking him to get a job as a busboy. At like the height of his career or something like that. And at the time I was a busboy. I didn't have any poems at the front page of the paper in Paris, France or anything, but I just know what it's like to your mom wanting to make a living and stuff. So thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next week, hopefully, or any other week this year, and drive safely. And I believe the coffee shop is now closed. If you want a drink, it's last call for drinks, and good night, sweet dreams to everyone.